Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Some people might get that reference. It's from a TV show when I was really young. All right, so we are back with another Cybertastic Explorio. Thanks for joining me. So I have to apologize about yesterday. Had to shift around my schedule, and believe me, I would have much rather been doing the stream because I enjoy doing this stream. I'm learning, and I hope others might be learning from this also. And it's just awesome to document and just have up on our MMS Media Center YouTube page for future reference. If anyone ever wanted to dive into some of these programs we've been exploring. Past few weeks, we've been diving deep into Cinema 4D um, because it's a really cool program. And I think there is, I don't know, a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but a lot of potential behind it. I think understanding a 3D graphics program like this has implications in a lot of uh, professional areas, just career areas. If you are a middle schooler and can understand a program like this, I think it can give you a jump start to some very cool future jobs. I know one of our viewers says his aunt is an architect and uses the program, but I know lots of you could use this in video game development. You can use it just as like a 3D artist. Uh, there's just a million implications for it, and we're having tons of fun with it. So at least I am. Maybe you are too. Let's get started, huh? Yesterday, our live stream, we were playing around with soft body dynamics, and we created a sphere and made it glowing green, and we put this plane on top of it and turned soft body dynamics on so it kind of looked draped over it like a cloth. And then we did like some reverse style sort of animation to make it look like the cloth was lifting off of it. And well, after a long render time, for a while, I was getting scared because some of these frames took. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Some of these frames took like a half hour, 40 minutes to render out, and I was getting really scared. I was like, if this takes 30 minutes for every frame, then we're gonna be here for a long time. But eventually, it sped up, and I mean, that's pretty cool. There's some like I don't know if what you want to call that. I think that's just the diffusion layer there that makes it look like that. Um, I don't know. Maybe there's a way to make that look better, but I love the way this tile floor kind of came out, and that was, um, well, I wanted to make a tile floor, but I didn't. The way I wasn't thinking to do it the way that we wound up doing it, so I was really happy with the way that that came out. I love the spotlight. What up, Maximus? I'm guessing that's Maximus. You're the only one that ever shows up. Yeah, I love the way that the spotlight kind of like feathers out at the end there. I don't know. I think it looks really cool. Let's play it again and see if it glitches out on me. It's not supposed to do it that fast. You see it like glitching out down here. Playback is like, there you go. Cool. And it just lifts off like that. I love the glow underneath, the reflection on the bottom. It all looks really cool. I'm pretty happy with the way that this kind of sort of transparent sphere came out. We messed with the glow to kind of turn down the radius a little bit. I don't know. I was pretty pleased overall. I wish I could do more than a 3-second render in like 24 hours, but it is what it is, man. Yeah, I think it came out cool. So that's our abracadabra render. Now, I have been geeking out hardcore. I'm chucking that. It's already in a Google Drive anyway. I've been geeking out hardcore on some really awesome tutorials. And this guy I was watching last night was just, again, this website, if you have a public library card, the website that gives these tutorials, these online courses, is amazing. And the guy that I was watching last night was just awesome. It's just so enjoyable to watch. I know it sounds funny just watching someone messing around in this program, but he was so entertaining. He's hilarious. I was laughing and learning a ton. So I am going to try to maybe sort of just play around a little bit with some of the things, see if how much I can remember from what he was saying last night. So here I'm just going to bring in I almost called it a square. I'm going to bring in a cube. Now, what else can I bring in? How about a floor? Okay. Well, this is interesting. Okay, I'll bring in a floor object and I'll bring in a cube. And here's what he did with this cube. He comes in here and just shrinks them down. What did I just do? Oh, I hit numlock. The worst. Look, that added. Oh my gosh. All right, 20, 20, 20. I'm going to bring it up above the floor there. And as he says, he likes to turn on these lines just so you could see things a little bit better. Okay, now I could take this cube and a couple things I learned. I think if you press Control, click, yeah, it automatically. I wish. Let me see. If I Control click here, yeah, then it brings it out along that axis. That's cool. So Control click, and now I've got all these guys. If I select them all and Control click, now spacing is off. I could probably do better spacing, but I'm going to Shift click and Control click up. And Control click up. Now I have like this cool, quick little array. Now I could, I'm going to do one more just because it's 4 across. I'm going to do 4 up. Okay, so I could have just done this with a cloner, right? But that was a quick, easy way to do it without a cloner. Now, if I shift click here, I need a way, like I could do a couple things. If I shift click here and then right click on all these, I could do simulation tag and do soft body, rigid body, but I could put a body dynamic on this, right? And so now you see here, all of these guys all have a rigid body dynamic tag. So now when I hit play, they all fall through the floor. And there's a couple reasons. Well, there's a reason why they fall through the floor is because I don't have a rigid body dynamic on this, right? So now if I go back here and I put a right click, rigid body, simulation, rigid body, now I hit play again. Okay, they all fall together and fall to the floor. Cool. Now, if I wanted to group these all together, so let's do, I could select that one there and shift click there and hit delete on all those rigid body tags. They all go away, right? So let's group this all together the way this guy was showing. And I could either, is it Alt-G? Yeah, Alt-G would make a null object, so it groups them all together. Or if you wanted to do it another way, I'm going to Control-Z you. If I wanted to do it another way, I could select all of these guys, and I think while holding Control, click on null object. No. Although that's cool, Control kind of copied them all. Okay, so that didn't work. If I, come on, man. Select them all and hold Alt and null. It's weird. Why does it do that? I thought there was a way to like put the null in while I had them all selected. And I know there is, but for time's sake, I just put another cube in. Let's do a null. I'm going to delete 49. Now I can select all these guys and put them inside the null. Way easier to just Alt-G when you select them all. Oh gosh, there's another cube in there. Okay, cool. Here's my array. Okay, so now what happens if I just put this simulation rigid body tag on here? Right, I get kind of them all falling at the same time. I don't know. For some reason, oh, here's why. Inside collision, it's already doing it. So the way this guy explained it was, if I hit none here, I thought by default it would be on none, but it's not. Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, so here's what's happening. That interaction has stopped effectively now, right? Because the tag is on the null object and not the children, the null object doesn't really have any geometry, so it falls straight through the floor. And so these dynamic body tags need to be assigned to geometry to actually have effect. And the way he explained everything was, everything is math, right? And so if you're not assigning something to a geometric body or a polygonal body, then it's not going to, there's no math really there to interact with. And so the trick to that is you don't need to assign it to all these cubes. You could still assign it to this null object, but the inherit tag has to be, well, if you apply it to all children, then it's interesting because it somehow set clear initial state. What the heck? It totally just messed up my initial state there. Let me see if I, oh gosh. Okay, there they are. Now let's go to my null object, and we're going to apply that rigid body tag again. So the way he explained it was, it will automatically, I guess they learned their lesson, that when you apply that tag, it now applies it to all the children in the null. I guess the version he was working on, they hadn't done that update yet, but now it applies tag to all children. So all these children, all these guys act independently when they fall, which is why you see they kind of all scatter all over the place. Now what happens if I change it to compound collision shape? Okay, I should have, before I changed that, I guess you have to hit rewind. Oh my goodness. I don't know why it's doing that weird. Okay, back to rigid body. Now if I apply it to compound collision shape, it should all fall together. Yep, and it just gets stuck there because now these things are one solid object. Now here's the other awesome thing that he showed me, and I was like, what? I can't believe that. Okay, so if you go into project settings, okay, so in your project settings here, you have this tag called dynamics. And so general dynamics are enabled right now. And I don't know what that means. On skip frame, disable. That's interesting. So here you have gravity. And so this is your world gravity. And the way he explained it was so crazy. Mathematically, that 1,000 centimeters on like the scale of the world, it actually simulates real world gravity. I don't know the math behind it. The numbers he was crunching, I was like, what? You're crazy. So anyway, there's where you find your world gravity. So if I mess with that, if I did like, let's see, hit that rewind button, and if I did, let's say negative 1,000, and played it, essentially it's falling up, right? The same amount of gravity, the same amount of force that would pull it down is now pulling it up. And same way, I mean, if I did, 200, it would fall down at a slower rate. Cool? Okay, now, that's not even the coolest thing. The absolute coolest thing is, I think it's under visualization. So when you go to visualization and you turn enable on, you will see all of the dynamic parameters here, I guess. And so you have collision shapes you could turn on or off. That's like there's 3 different colors here: green, yellow, and blue. And there are bounding boxes, which will show you what of the object is actually colliding. And you can see here this bounding box outside this whole thing. This means that all of these tiny little cubes in here are basically being considered one giant shape because of the way we have that tag set up to be, what was it? Compound collision body, right? So if I change this here to apply tag to children, let's see, do you see? It looks like maybe that those little white boxes, or they're all individual boxes now, let's say. Yeah, now you can see the bounding boxes have all changed to each individual object, right? So that's cool. Let's go back to, there's got to be a shortcut for, or I almost want to keep this Control D. Okay, Control D will bring up my project settings. So that's that. And contact points, if you turn contact points on, they will show you, let's see, okay, let's turn these off. I'll get back to collision shapes just so you see it in a second. And he didn't go over connectors because he says, I don't know, not in that tutorial. So if you hit play again, there you go. You see all of these points here are now the points of contact from each of these dynamic bodies. Does that make sense? So you could see if we went back to this body tag here and I changed, let's rewind you. If I went back to compound collision, now I know that Control D is project settings. And I turn, if I hit play again and watch these contact points. The contact points, because this is a compound collision body, the contact points are, you're looking at just the base, that bottom base there. All 4 points of each of these cubes are now contacting. Makes sense? Makes sense to me. Now let's go back to collision shapes. And I'm going to keep this as a compound collision body, I think, just for this example, because it'll be easier to see. Now I'm going to hit play, and let's watch it change from different colors. This floor should always be blue, I think, because it is a static object, which means it is not moving. Okay, I was wrong again. Okay, the reason why it's yellow is because it is going to be interacting with whatever else is yellow. So yellow means it's, I guess, sort of in the process of colliding or doing this, whatever dynamic is, right? So it's in the process of interacting with another object. Now it should turn green. Oh, man. Okay, still learning. Let's go back a couple frames. And it doesn't move, huh? Okay, so the reason why this turned blue is because now that it interacted with the other object, it's not interacting. Its dynamics have completed, I guess. This green is showing you the, I guess, path of which that the force is being acted on, and yellow means that it is in the process of interacting or colliding with another object. Now, eventually, it should turn blue. Okay. It turned blue right at the end there, which means that the dynamic control was completely over. All right, let's go to this tag again and change this back to apply tag to all children. We should see a lot more color. And let's Control D it just to check. I don't need to turn bounding boxes on right now. I'm just going to watch this thing interact with the collision shapes on. Okay, here we go. cool? And you see that there was a lot less blue. Almost no, I don't know if any of these, yeah, some of these cubes turn blue at the end. Most of them stay either yellow or green, which means that they're still, that force is still being acted upon them. Like if I changed this frames to, let's say 200 maybe, and let's see all these frames here, reset it. Let's see if more of them turn blue. Oh, that one just kind of fell at the end there, which is going to activate a few other ones. Okay. But the reason why this is so cool is because here you're seeing your dynamics at play, which will help you troubleshoot, because I have had all sorts of issues with the way the dynamics are playing out. This will help you troubleshoot dynamics as they're interplaying with the objects are interplaying with each other. So if there's ever an issue and you go into that visualization, then you can troubleshoot that way. I'm going to turn on these three, and now we're going to jump into one other thing that I thought was really cool. Okay, a couple other things. Let's put a cube in, and I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to go 50. We'll make it a little bigger. Bring it up above the surface. Now, instead of a floor, I'm going to put a plane object in. Okay, cool. Now, if I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put simulation rigid body tags on both of these. When I hit play now, something interesting just happened, right? Different from what would happen if I put the floor in. If I put a floor in, just so you could see it, let's put a floor in, and we'll turn the plane off for now. And let's apply rigid body tag to the floor. Watch what happens. Floor stays. So floor stays, but plane falls. Now let me try to figure out why. I know he did something right in here. I'm going to delete the floor, and the plane is back on. Now let's figure out, why does the plane still fall, and how do I change it? I think if I go into the dynamics tag of the plane and go to dynamics here, it will show dynamic is on. So right now this is a dynamic object. I wonder, let's just check this. Put a dynamic on here again. In the floor, dynamic body, and you go to dynamics, you see here dynamic is off. So that means that the floor, when you put a floor in, it automatically assigns the floor as being a static object, because it's a floor. A floor never moves. Now a plane, depending on what you want to do with it, could or could not move, right? So floor is automatically set to dynamic is off. So I'm going to delete the floor again, go to the plane, and let's just see what happens if you go to this dynamic tag and go to dynamic is off. Let's hit the animation again. Now the plane has become essentially a floor, right? Now you could do this with all sorts of objects and have them interplay with each other. It doesn't have to happen with just a floor. But here I can have a plane, and okay, that's fine. I'll bring it up and I'll rotate it a tiny bit. And now I'll bring the cube. Where's the initial state of the cube? Okay, cool. Here I'll bring the cube up, and this plane is still set to, so dynamics are on, which means it's going to interact, but it's not going to interact with gravity because it's a static object. I've set it to off. So this cube, when it falls now, well, that's interesting. It just slid on the plane. I expected it to be a little bit more of a slide. So let's try this. Let's go to my cube dynamics and let's set. Well, I bet you if I go to, is it in soft body? Pressure, force. There's a friction thing somewhere. Here, friction's at 90%. I bet you it'll slide if I do like friction at 10%. Sliding more. Now, check the next thing out. This could be cool. If give me a second, let me find it. No, it's not a basic. Where do I change the, oh, I know. Here, custom initial velocity. So right now, there isn't really a custom velocity. The velocity is set at 0 on this cube, which means that when you hit play, it has to pick up speed, and then depending upon how much speed it picks up and collides with whatever it's interacting with, however much velocity it picks up at that point, then that velocity interacts on it. But if I click on, where was it? Oh, initial velocity. I can customize it. And so linear velocity is up, down, left, right, back, forth. Angular velocity is rotation of object, and these respectively are x, y, and z axis. And it plays the same role as, let's say if I just go back to the cube and I go to coordinates here. So linear is your x, y, z axes here. And yeah, this is just plane. I think that's what the P means. Here means, oh no, P means position. Position, X, Y, Z. Here is rotate. And this, I think he said, was head. I forget what HPB stands for. Essentially, it's X, Y, Z. So if I turn on rotation, again, this is, go to my cube. Oh, I'll just play with it here, right? R is around the green axis, and H is green axis, P is red axis, and blue is Z. Let's zero that out. Okay, let's go back into our dynamics tab and let's mess with this. Let's say I want this thing to fall down on the y-axis, so it's going to be negative. I don't know, let's say it's negative 500 to see how fast it goes. I don't need it to move on the z at all, back or forth, but it's going to go straight down. It's going to shoot. I'm basically making this a projectile object. It's going to shoot down, and as it shoots down, I want it to rotate on this z-axis, I think negative 45. Here's what I'm thinking it's going to do. Well, let's just hit play. It still didn't roll as fast as I wanted to. Okay, well, it fell down a lot faster. I wanted to get it to spin a lot faster. Let's go negative 1,000. Interesting, it's not actually rolling. I guess once it falls flat on that face, I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't just tumble. It probably has to do, maybe if I like, I don't know, mess with rotation stuff more. But you could see projectile and how it interacts with this this plane, the static object of the plane. Now let's do this one. Let's go with I'm going to do a sphere. And I'm going to turn this sphere into a hemisphere. And I don't think I can automatically change the axis here. So let's change the axis here. 180, I guess I wanted. more sense. E. I'm going to bring this guy up now. Okay, now let's make this a... I'll get there. Now let's go. How about a marble? Do we want a marble? Let's go marble, 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 marble. Put another sphere in. I'm going to drag you up, and I am going to hold shift as I... Wait, shift. How's that position? Let's go. Scale, shift. I don't care. I just want like a smaller marble. Cool. Okay. E. Okay, now let's bring this so it's going to kind of hopefully fall on the edge and fall into this bowl. Okay, are you ready for this one? Dynamic tags. And simulation, rigid body. Okay, hit play. What just happened? Exactly what you would expect would happen. Because these are both dynamic bodies, and right now dynamics are turned on. So if I go to sphere 1, and actually if I hit enter, I can name this bowl. Come on, bowl. And we'll name this into marble. Cool. So now go into the bowl and click on that dynamics tag. And remember, I want to turn dynamics off here. Cool beans. Sweet. Now, let's go here and hit play. And now the ball is going to fall right into the ball, right? Wrong. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's move it in a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. Let's go to F. Okay, good. F3. Where's top view? F2. I just want to make sure that I'm not hitting the edge of the bowl anyway. I want to make this perfectly clear that it is going into the bowl, right? F1. There's no way it's not going to hit the edge or anything like that. It is going to fall right into the bowl. Hit play. And it gets stuck. And now it's rolling off to the side. Why? Well, if you see here, this blue bounding box, it's blue because collision is on. Control D. Okay, bounding boxes are on, so you can see now the sphere. It's interesting that the sphere has a cube bounding box now. Actually, that's totally normal. So the sphere has a bounding box, a cube around it, and look at the ball. The ball also has a cube around it. So there's no way that a cube is going to go into a cube like that, right? It's a solid surface, essentially. And the way the guy explained it yesterday was that C4D, in order to process, like it always goes to like maximum processing speed. And so in order to process things the fastest, everything is essentially set. Even though it doesn't look like a solid object, it doesn't recognize holes, essentially, because it takes more processing to recognize holes. But if you go into bowl, and I think it's into dynamics again, and where are you? Collision. Here, the shape is set to automatic. And again, the automatic is set to process as quickly as possible. And so it just makes this thing a regular, I guess if you want to call it a polygonal or whatever object. So if I have a whole bunch of different settings here. But because this is a static object, I know it's a static object because in dynamics, I set it to off. So if I go back, where was it? In collision, go back to collision and set this thing to a static mesh. Essentially what it's going to do now is, now when I hit play, I should get, I guess it doesn't have a different bounding box. But essentially what it's doing is it's recognizing, it essentially puts a mesh or a net around the inside and outside of the shape. And so now it's recognizing a hole. So when I hit play, now the thing is dropping into the sphere. Because it's a solid bottom, it's going to roll back and forth like it's dropping into a bowl. Sweet? Yeah. Understanding body dynamics is amazing. Okay, so now let's try to do something even more fun. And I'm totally just playing around now. Okay, so let's go to, I don't know, top view, F2. F3 is, okay, let's go to right view. And I can't really see where the floor is, but it doesn't really matter. Let's bring it out here. And back to F1. Zoom you out. All right, cool. And let's change my camera view to kind of look at, all right, cool. All right, now I have this marble. It's on the floor here. It should be aligned in the center of this. Now let's go to R and I'm going to use this red one, hopefully. I wish I could see. Okay, wait, is that the z-axis? I think. Okay, so it's going to, now this angle of, it's going to follow this path of the z-axis on the axis that's assigned to the object. I don't know if I'm using the right term there, but it'll follow the path there. So if I look a little closer here, I don't know if, well, let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm going to hit play. Still dropping down. Okay, because I think the initial velocity needs to change. So I want this thing to shoot forward. Let's see if I can get it. Go to the marble and go to set initial velocity. Where are you? And I think that's the z-axis. Let's say, I don't know, let's do 1,000. And see what happens. Hey, look at that. I was so close. I might need to change the rotation a little bit more. Back to R. And I'm going to put you up a little bit more. Back to E. And hit play. I will get you. I will get you in the hole. Oh! Right around the rim. Oh, gosh. This is why I don't play basketball. Oh! Oh, my goodness. Oh, come on. I might just move the ball back. Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. I will get you. Again. Oh, dude, you're killing me. Okay. Negative 2.2 is going to be too low. Okay, whatever. Let's, okay, let's move it up a little bit. Oh, now it's going to, oh, gosh. No, I wanted to move it back. Physics. Do you know how much math is involved here? Way more math than I could possibly. All right, I'm moving the ball back a little bit. Oh, I could also change the strength of the velocity. Whoa. Okay, a little better. I'm going to move back a tiny bit more. All right, cool. That works for me. Sweetness. Sweetness. Okay, so now I have this ball that's flying into this hole. I wonder if I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see. And I'm not sure where this is. Tools. I don't know where this one is, so I'm just going to type it in here. Let's do emitter. Okay, so I've got this emitter here, and let's bring the emitter back. I might have to rotate it. I don't know. Does this marble have to go inside the emitter? What happens? It's emitting something, but it's not emitting the marble somehow. It's supposed to. So I'd never messed with an emitter before. But, oops. That's fine. Start emission at 0 frames, stop at 150, sure. Is it supposed to include the marble? It's still not going. Alright, so I just wanted to try something completely different there to see if I could shoot a marble in there. But emitter type. I don't know. Can I just include the bowl? Is that... Hey, there you go. Wait. I don't know what just happened. Do I need to put more marbles in? Okay, let's do a cloner. And put the marble in the cloner. All right, I can't figure out why okay, so we got to do some work on emitters. I'm going to take the emitter away because I don't like it. But, and I'm going to take the cloner away. Where'd my marble go? Now my marble's not there. Oh, my marble moved back because I signed it to the cloner. So this thing is going to be way off now. Well, we were on a roll there for a while with the dynamics and assigning all your dynamic tags to it. I'm going to turn the emitter off, go all the way back. This one should work, right? I eventually got this projectile to work, and it's going into the bowl. That's fun. Cool beans. All right, I'll take it. And that wraps up this Cybertastic Explorio. We are exploring rigid body dynamics and just diving deep into all of these dynamic tags. I hope that it was informative and fun because this is me just applying things that I've been watching and learning. So I'm just trying to apply that knowledge and share that knowledge as I am learning it. So I hope you found it interesting and fun. I will be back here in 48 minutes or something like that for another round of exploration. Until then, a sayonara.